seek your indulgence, we gain access to your throne through Christ Jesus, our Savior and our Lord. And this morning, Lord, we do that. We come before you humbled and humbly to seek your blessings. We ask, Father, that you will lead us today in these deliberations and discussions in fear and in truth for our people of this great nation. We ask you, Lord, to grant us your wisdom, knowledge, and understanding in all that we say and do as leaders of this country. Dear Lord, we thank you for always granting us your grace, and through which we come before you and submit in the prayer that you have taught us through Christ Jesus. Our Father,
who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done as in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For yours is the kingdom, the power, and the glory, forever and ever. Amen.
Honourable members, I have to inform the Parliament of the death on 13th October 2024 of Sir John Tongri Hiki, a former member for Bogia Open Electorate in the 7th National Parliament from 2002 to 2007, 8th National Parliament from 2007 to 2012, and 9th National Parliament from 2012 to 2017. During those terms, he served as a chairman of the Public Accounts Committee following the formation of Somare government in 2002, and Minister for Finance and Planning on 23rd June 2006, Minister for Agriculture and Livestock in the Somare Temu Cabinet on 29 August 2007 till December 2010. As mark of respect to the memory of the late honourable gentleman, I invite all honourable members to rise in their places. I thank the Parliament. Honourable members, I wish to acknowledge the presence of the public gallery of the students who are doing Diploma in Governance, Leadership and Management at the Somare Institute of Leadership and Governance in the National Capital District, and the teachers and students of Diboy Semenu Primary School of Kairiku District, Central Province. On behalf of the Parliament, I extend the visitors a warm welcome to Parliament. Honourable members, I'd like to inform the Parliament this morning at 9:40 a.m. I have received a motion of vote of no confidence from the opposition, and I'd like to inform Parliament that Parliament will suspend on lunch for the committee to deal with the motion. Clerk, any petitions, motions, notices? Honorable members, question time. The Honorable Governor for Gulf.
Thank you, Deputy Speaker. Deputy Speaker, asking Blomi, no got notice, and we go to Minister Blow House. Long country blow you me, housing, and me one plus big plus something. Suppose you stop the palace, you got house. All got a line of society, of community, all by recognizing you. Also, you want a man, you want a family man. So, ask him, me also, Minister, last month, Managing Director, na Housing Commission, and publishing one list on all man na Mary who sat in buying rent, or who sat in buying through house. This list containing plenty of categories. The man who's at the default. So ask him lo mi olsem. Na context lo ask him lo mi em. Sample line for Second World War. Time and finish. Plenty PIB, plenty policeman who started serve lo colonial times. Department of Lands is stopped. Now only allocating ground. You go all. Now this is the time you got curfew too. White man is stopped lo one blahap, lo Mosby. Now you me Papua New Guinea Kanaka is stopped lo hap lo Hanobara. Now stop lo hap lo Koki. So settlements where all colonial masters like Putin, or the Putin lo Kaugere, Sabama, Host Camp, where before the Second World War, emi one plus balus. Now this line, name lo all stop lo list. Now two sample public servants who sat in retrenched penis. Now only die penis. Or beginning lo all stop, but Papa and Mama, buying house. So enough, Minister, me asking you, you look good, Lord, this list. Enough, you stop him eviction notice, law line. You sit down one time, Minister of Lands. Now you check him categories, long ownership. The time the colonial administration he come, time the public service he come now. Now check him good. Now you learn him sample line he go. Because the day you may have rising cost of living from Mosby, Lay, Wiwek, Ogata, Emi, and Taptru. Now, country, Emi Kisim Bagarap. Now, you may not can learn more line you go. Now, you know that house is top of street. Emi encouraging problem, law and order. So ask him, Blomi go you, one time, Minister of Lands, enough you to sit down and check good. Now, government to him has got halving. The banks, on these tenants, you can halve him. The working housing loan scheme, or if possible, giveaway scheme. Time minister, the mechanic government, the housing, we put him hostel of Wagani and one pla hotel now. We put him hostel, long Hohola, is stop yet. That's all now. Prime Minister, I'm talking Milo working giveaway scheme. Past winter, I'm starting. Mekere, I'm working inside the Northwest Electorate Tasso. So enough, you look good on these policies. Now you give him lick, halving all line that you may stop. You kiss him trouble of Birua one time you in a housing commission. That's all, Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Minister for Housing.
Thank you, Mr. Deputy Speaker. Thank you, Long Governor Long Gupla, asking you give me up today. Yes, Mr. Deputy Speaker, I may give brief, but I'm asking Governor give me in writing by making a full comprehensive report on exercise non-government will make it to the department. In brief, we can give the general public and harm too, Mr. Deputy Speaker. But this exercise is not a new exercise. We started out last year in November. Notices will go out since last year November through our newspaper advertisement till this year. At the point in time now, I'm asking people will explain and plus up yet, so we're not deliberate further into it, Mr. Deputy Speaker. But me asking because long, how good is suburban housing and more sample areas where we come up before long, national houses corporation coming to its creation as a national corporation and pre-independence area time. So, me or less department, but so then we will go back review that. But we will have a good answer for people in settlement. Settlement especially now. The success of covering both settlement, want them, or other blocks or block of land and current program blessed up long. So, Mr. Deputy Speaker, in a group of governor, play me long job, give me long writing now, by me give me full answer. Now, two nations, two international harem, especially a population in Port Moresby. Thank you, Deputy Speaker.
The Honourable Member for Condolences.
Thank you, Deputy Speaker. Question to me, Minister of Finance. Deputy Speaker, me, several of this Minister of Finance, longer time. Me been established Deputy Sumare at the Grand Sumare before the government belong him. Now I've been established one of the team where we've been leading the National Alliance. Now me I was an honest man. Now I'm one educated man too. He knows things and I trust him. And me looking recently on social media, which I do not believe most of these things they say, but me looking only put in detail of some checks or some claims made along all various people where all he talk on some Minister of Finance been making. And I know him as an honest man. I have known him. I know the Honorable Miki Kayoko to be an honest person. I know that he's also educated to know the law too. To that level he knows it. Can he explain to this Parliament and to the people of Papua New Guinea if that disrepute that has been made against him true or not true? I'm now question below me because me looking this list them around and me list and me all put them in detail and therefore that question all people are asking, but he being very honest and also a very clearly literate man who can know the law, I don't believe you would have done that. Please, through you, Mr. Speaker, if you can explain if those allegations are true. Thank you.
The Honourable Minister for Finance.
Thank you, Deputy Speaker. Thank you, Lord Goodpla, Member Blomilo Kandep. Lord, this is a very, very important question that is taking the attention of this nation. Let me explain. Okay, Finance Department is the implementing agency of the government department. And that list that is being mostly publicized in the social media and also the print medias, I'm not aware of that list. And I say it again, I don't know about that list. I've never directed anybody, for that matter, to write checks to these 64 lists that are floating, and I have no knowledge about it, and I cannot explain it here because I don't have that list with me too. It is only the media that is preaching that list around, and the competent people who can really come and investigate to see whether the system, what I'm saying is right or wrong. Ombudsman Commission, they have every right to come and check if that's these checks that are floating, or what they claim to say it's checks that are written, and they themselves will come and clear whether that is wrong or right. At the moment, I don't know about this list, so I cannot comment yet. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Governor for Western Province, West New Britain.
Thank you, Mr. Acting Speaker.
Sorry, I'm caught in between two Western.
Thank you. Understood. Thank you.
The Governor for West New Britain.
Thank you, Acting Speaker. My question without notice goes to the Minister for International Trade and Investment, Honourable Richard Maru, specifically on the operations and commercial and trade practices of East New Britain Oil Palm Limited in East New Britain Province. The questions are, Mr. Speaker, what gave rise to the investigations by the government? And what is the terms of reference? And what do you see as a major outcome from this investigation that you will achieve? And the last question, Mr. Speaker, is, have you got any plans to start a national oil palm company so provinces like us, West New Britain, can also invest and buy share and be part of that national oil palm company where we can go into this industry? And even if the minister and government can think, we can even buy up the existing companies like this New Britain Palm Oil and this East New Britain Palm Oil, because this is one such industry which employs more than 100,000 people in direct employment, and in indirect employment it employs even more than 100,000. So this will greatly benefit our farmers and our people, and also it gives opportunity for the provinces like us and many other provinces can also be a shareholder into this national oil palm company. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Thank you.
The Honourable Minister.
Mr. Speaker, and I'd like to thank the Governor of West New Britain for asking this very important question. Mr. Speaker, what gave rise to the investigation is a public complaint received by me when NEC was in Kokopo by the Association of Oil Palm Growers in East New Britain Province, complaining that over the last 10 years, up to 15,000 farmers in East New Britain Province have been receiving farm gate price of 15 kina per metric ton, while in the West New Britain Province, New Britain Palm Oil and Hardy Oil Palm are paying farmers. BOPs, LSS are paying them 800 to 900 kina at the same time. So there is a big disparity in prices in oil palm companies who acquired land through the SABL scheme, who are not in properly declared oil palm areas like we have in West New Britain Province. So we as government, as a responsible government, the Marabe government, decided to conduct an investigation with a terms of reference which includes whether what our people are claiming is true or not true. Why are they receiving prices of 15 kina when the declared oil palm areas are receiving prices of 800, 900, depending on world market prices? Who is the regulator? Why is there such differences? Why are people being basically robbed of their sweat? As a government, we have to deal with this. We can't continue to ignore the plight of our farmers. We also have to encourage the farmers to give up more land for oil palm. Just for the record of Parliament, in the last 10 years, coffee, the average export for coffee is 510 million a year. Oil palm, 2.5 billion. It is the most important agriculture industry in this country and deserves our attention. So we have now embarked on the investigation. The investigation team is right now in East New Britain. They're spending 1 week. They've met with farmers and they're meeting farmers throughout the province, including Pomeo, to ascertain whether what our people are claiming is true, and to also understand why are they paying only 15 kina when the rest of the country are enjoying much, much higher prices, and what should the government do to make sure there's a watchdog, there's a regulator, there's a law and policy, including a national price formula, so we don't have that again. That's what we are trying to achieve and do. In the process, the committee will also come up with recommendations. And I'm hoping one of the recommendations is we must set up our own Papua New Guinea-owned oil palm company. We have up to 6 million hectares of savanna land that we can grow oil palm. Just for the record, Indonesia, biggest industry in Indonesia is oil palm. It is 10% of the GDP. They've grown over 15 million hectares and growing. They are the biggest producer in the world now. We have the potential to create a couple of million jobs in the oil palm industry and actually grow the export revenue from 2.5 billion currently to over 20 billion ourselves. If we did the investigation and looked at reforming law policy and make it appealing for our people to free up land for oil palm development. So that's what we are doing. I will be bringing a submission to Cabinet with my colleague, Oil Palm Minister, very shortly to get Cabinet approval to start our own oil palm company. Other people cannot come and treat us like this. This is our land. We must take action. We must own the industry. Why not? We've been in the oil palm industry for over 50 years. And we are looking to take over that industry. Let me make it clear to Parliament. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Our member for Miniamia.
Thank you, Assistant Speaker. Look, several people from Miniamia. Ask him, me when start on notice paper, me like ask him Minister Blo works. So question in regards to Wabulolo Highway. You miss our Wabulolo Highway before law. This country and develop and plenty resources and we come out to this Wabulolo Highway. Before the oil, na gas, na gold, na copper, you me talk lo. Oga have lo country and Wabulolo and me kirabim or give him plenty resource come out this highway, bring him plenty resource come out law. Develop this country and also lo Morobe. But this Wabulolo Highway. Lo 2021 20 mi plari mo sem sampla wogem government lo Australia gim sampla halivim lo risla highway but me one pla use up lo risla highway we oga the day night mi plus aron go come all people blow bulolo wa waria who and golf lo menyem also rely lo risla road lo carry coffee come lo bring mol cargo go begen lo place carry cargo come na salimol fresh vegetables blow lo make him sort them. Me walk lo gam lo la road na me look him plenty walk and me walk lo come up drips and drips here and there clearing na. Instead of straightening this la road them, me look him was all walk him more bagarap lo la road na me plo road you sak sim big la bagarap. Lo bring him all. Kai blo me plan all produce blo him bla come outside lo salim. All man merik sim big la more bagarap lo la road so. Ask him blo me lo minister. Ina pe mi luglug lo la road from 9 Mile Golo, Pine Top, or Golo, Coal Mountain. Give one block good block walk, or one block good block contract again, we'll give one block good block, straight block walk. Instead of walking drips and drips here and there, look at one block good block. Result to this block walk and we come up to this block highway. So me ask him, question to me go, Honorable Works Minister, enough me give one block good block contract, in a legal contract where simply lab na go cleaning bush lab come back again bush work lo behind him backside grow bush work lo grow come back again while contract lo work lo cleaning lo front go. So thank you. Question without notice blow me camera.
Minister Blow works.
Thank you, Speaker, through you. Thank you, good question blow member blow Miniamia. This blow road lo 9 Mile go lo bulolo na even go lo Miniamia. Lo district longen, everyone bla economic road now also another connect PNC one bla transnational highway too. Lo before only this bla road is the one need lo TSSP or say the kisim this bla project. Now you got all bla projects lo country or roads only give him. One bla big bla problem only give him big bla kilometer. Now funding only put him illegally. Then I meet him. Lo seal him, na straight him, all say put him on maintenance, money. So me at ego lo bulolo. Na me go please los pla road, na me look him them. This pla road and me hold him big pla all gold mine, all plenty activity. Everyone pla economic road where I nirim government attention haria na tu emi connect PNG road too. So me come back na me play start to go come na at this point in time long 9 mile go timini contract he been go finish lo contractor na me make some lo work lo timini go lo pine top go down lo bulolo now me play push him na me play to one time ADB lo start lo designing na straight him so that me play engage him all go na start work lo explore. At this point in time, we put him all 3 block contractors lo this road now lo work lo all emergency lo maintain this road. So some road by play look him all contractors start finish and we start work long end. So once design and details we come out, we like appeal long all districts of Warrior na Miniamia, also part lo Bulolo, Bulolo have to. Also this road we plan like priority. We plan like this hub road lo ebona come down over lo here lo Berena lo meet him bung him Hiritano road and we plan at close to 30 kilometers now. We plan at 30 kilometers by January, February, but we plan come up lo Berena station lo join road. So this plan now by connecting this road so Lord, now we went up long September 16, 2025. Attention, the government by establish the road, we plan make sure this road in good use. Now by government announcing awesome. Also, this time September 16 by Highlands, the Mama City will come here. Let's celebrate September 16. So, Miller appeal, now talk to all members, now leaders, let's have person. Yes, we are on to it. How public place this road. Thank you.
Member of Senator Gomul.
Thank you, Assistant Speaker. My question is a series of questions will be directed to the Attorney General. The Attorney General is a man that I respect highly. He's a man of integrity and always means well. But I think recently he's been misled. He's been misled by people with vested interests into violating the very laws that he's supposed to be upholding by example. So I want to ask these questions to ask him to give him an opportunity to explain himself and clear himself and distance himself from this mess. As we know in this country, we are a country of laws. This parliament, everything we do, everything we say is provided for or should be provided for by our law. So we operate inside those boundaries. If there is no law about a certain things, it means you are not supposed to do it. That's the basic principle. So right now, we know that the Attorney General from the media, much publicized, even in today's paper, certain advertisements have appeared about the appointment of a certain number of senior lawyers to be King's Counsel. Now, I, as a former practitioner myself, have a deep and abiding respect for a couple of those people who have been named in those appointments. And what I say is not intended to cast any aspersions on their reputation and integrity. But I say in my faith and belief that we have a duty to uphold the integrity of our laws, of which is the Attorney General's primary duty. So the questions, there's 11 questions. I want the Attorney General to take note of each and every one of them and answer them carefully and correctly based on proper law. Number one, isn't it correct, Attorney General, that the Lawyers Act is the only law in Papua New Guinea that provides for the practice of law by lawyers? Number one. Number two, does the Attorney General agree that the Lawyers Act as a legislation overrides any pronouncements of the common law, which is interpretation by the judges from the courtroom. Number 3, can the Attorney General confirm whether the Lawyers Act makes provisions for the existence and operations of a group of lawyers called solicitors? Number 4, can the Attorney General confirm if the Lawyers Act makes similar provisions for the operation of another class of lawyers called barristers? Number 5, if the answer to questions 3 and 4 are no, isn't it the case, Mr. Attorney General, that the Lawyers Act makes provisions for a merged profession that does not recognize the distinction between barristers or solicitors, but under the Lawyers Act requires them to practice under the label of lawyers only by law in this country? Number 6, does the Attorney General agree that under the Lawyers Act there is no express or implied grant of power for him to appoint King's Counsel as a professional award? Number 7, does he agree that the KC award system is a professional award system? A professional award system, as distinguished from a civil or imperial award system like the Logohu system or the British Imperial Award system. Number 8, can the Attorney General agree that he never involved the judiciary in his selection of the candidates? Because the judiciary have the most visibility on the ability of lawyers appearing in the courtrooms. Number 9, can he also admit or deny that he never consulted the Papua New Guinea Law Society, who by virtue of the Lawyers Act is the only authority authorized by law to give out awards, such as licenses to practice law that includes a restricted practicing certificate or an unrestricted practicing certificate. Finally, number 10, because he has assumed, the Attorney General has assumed that power, unilaterally assumed the power of appointing these people, can he now also agree that the next Attorney General, whoever he may be, has the same power to revoke those appointments, therefore giving no stability to those appointments? And finally, can he admit in all sincerity and in good faith that he has made a blunder and committed a scandal and made a mockery of the laws, including in particular the Lawyers Act that he is supposed to be championing, upholding, and maintaining, and politicizing it? Thank you.
Thank you, Minister for Justice.
Thank you, Assistant Speaker. I have a lot of time for my colleague and my friend and my brother, So I will have to answer this question if you can give me the answers, and then I'll answer it. Yeah, questions. I'll answer it. But in the outset, let me tell you, if Solomon Islands, a small country, have cases or Queen's Council, Papua New Guinea can have its own council that the state is.
Minister, you have a point of order. Member for Kerukari, what is your point of order?
My point of order, Mr. Speaker, is that the questions are very specific and confined and related to the Constitution and the Lawyers Act and prescription at law. So if the good Attorney General could confine his response to that, that would help this House and the explanations that we are seeking. The last one, if there is any confusion, perhaps the last question he could answer in the affirmative and agree that he's made a mockery of the legal profession in this country.
Yes.
So tell him, Mr. Speaker, that a reference to Solomon Islands and copying Solomon Islands, a small jurisdiction in the Pacific, is of no assistance to this country's the questions that are raised.
Honourable Member, thank you. And block asking block member plus ini sini yang kemudian Minister la breakim so lari mem kam namel nami plus kelam tu question. Minister mi alam yulo tu.
Thank you. I'll get the questions and I'll answer.
Thank you.
What I'm saying is, this country can make laws. This country can do exercise. Some people are scared to make laws or make amendments to the Constitution. It is time that we have to stand up to it. Shut up and sit down. Sit down.
Honourable Member, Bami allow me long point of order. Minister, Lord Chair, me asking you, you can withdraw him. What belong you shut up and sit down.
Honourable Member, Mr. Assistant Speaker, I certainly withdraw it. I sincerely apologize.
Honourable Member, what is your point of order?
My point of order, Mr. Speaker, is that the good Attorney General is not answering the question. Whether dreaming up legislation is not going to assist the question. If the law hasn't been passed by this House, you can't talk about law that has not been passed by the House. There is no law, no legal basis. So he needs to confine his answers to the questions. If there are no answers today, perhaps he can come back another time with a properly detailed response. We can move on in the interest of time.
Thank you, Honourable Member. Your point of order is in order, so you can, Minister can answer the question.
I believe they take note of that and we get the answers, questions and answers. Thank you. If I offended anyone, I sincerely apologize.
Member for Bololo.
Thank you, Mr. Assistant Speaker. Liglig sot la question limitasol amigos Tretlo, Prime Minister, Honorable James Marape. In regards to our IDG, I want to thank the Marape Rosso government for the, I think it's 100 million, kina to the Morbe province. 50, it's corrected by my. But it's just a question. I just want our. All right, I just heard that it's 50. 50 more. Question one is that do we have any framework or guidelines to guide these funds so that from Waigani to Morbe province and by strictly guided na benin pipe ko stretlo 1-1 district na inogolo Morbe province na mipla paini. Number one question. me like him framework. If no cut, you may must cut. If he cut, then you need to clear him. Number two, can these funds be transferred or distributed directly from Waigani straight to each district in Morobe province, including the province itself? So mipla garak simsep lo mipla instead lo kamlo province na mipla brukim lab na mito clear os implanti blom la district no brukim this la something. Last and final, suppose hat lo wokin slow something. Why not you may give come back lo host district na mipla brukim fairly na mipla by game lo kita district lo mipla. So we can be fair to all and enemies to none. Thank you, Mr. Assistant Speaker.
Honorable Prime Minister.
All right, thank you, Mr. Assistant Speaker. Me like talk thank you long, Vice Minister and member long Bulolo long asking this important question long IDG long Wafi Golpu. I want to firstly appreciate the leadership he is playing and all the Morobe leadership under Governor Wenge and all elected leaders of Morobe Province. The current allocation of IDG, we start for WAFI, labeled WAFI IDG, we started 2 years ago, was made in good faith that we will cross the line in as far as securing community development agreement for Wafi Golpu with the landowners and Morobe Provincial Government, as well as completing the mine development contract and the SML process that is currently on foot as our state negotiating team negotiates with our investment partners. Mr. Assistant Speaker, IDG is a construct of the National Alliance-led government. Before PNG LNG came into life as a project, the National Alliance government back then initiated what was labeled as infrastructure development grant and business development grant. That is the precedent that established what is now called IDG and BDG, infrastructure development grant and business development grant. Before that, there was no allocation per se for other projects that were run, agreed upon and is running, like Lihir, Ramu, or even Oktedi. And so since the NA government and PNG LNG related IDG came into place, the precedent is when the IDG arrived after negotiations with the landowners and the outcome of negotiations, IDG was arrived at and agreed. In those agreements, you have carved out funds identified for infrastructure in those project area precincts as well as the provinces. Since then, when we took office to prepare the landowners and provinces to be receptive to projects once it's up and running, we learned from PNG LNG that there was squander in IDG. It never hit the target. Sometimes those who know the system in Waigani would rush to Waigani and pick up the fundings from Waigani without no accountability, and minimal projects are happening on the ground. And to mobilize the landowners when it arrives in project time, project sanctioning time, the landowners sometimes seems to be all over the place. We decide that we will introduce IDG ahead of even project landowner negotiations, landowner community benefit sharing agreement, or what is used to be labeled as development forums. So we started allocating in 2020 something for, or 2021, I beg your pardon, something for labeled BDG or IDG for all the projects that we wanted to progress. Papua LNG, Program Mine, and also Wafi Golpu. I'm just giving you all some background context. For Wafi Golpu, whilst the mine is not yet sanctioned through the due processing as far as MDC and SML is concerned, which will be very soon if I could inform this House, I want to indicate to everyone it's a substantial resource. It is a resource that will see investor and state mobilizing close to $5.8 billion, if not $6 billion as capital investment to develop this project. And to bring it to commercial production, possibly another $3 billion. So substantial work. The mine is, from my briefs here, 19 million ounces of gold established in reserve and 8.6 metric tons of copper resources. So substantial resources there. Once it's fully developed, will be major producing resources in as far as copper and gold is concerned. And so we want the landowners to be happy, the province to be happy, especially when you go up there, Yanta, Hangabu, and Babua, people up there in the mountains, right down through the pipeline, all the way into possible outlets at Ley City. Those people to be seeing development, and state and our government, more so Pangu coalition government, showing commitment to this project. We have released so far 2021, 2022, 2023, and today, if my memory is not wrong, a total of 200 million kina disbursed. I want to give assurance to the member. He's got every right to ask this question from his electorate host, the SML area, and it also overlaps into the Huon Gulf. And so we will give a full account as to where the disbursements took place. Some would have gone to the districts, some would have gone to the province. All of this were disbursed to either the district or province. For this year, there's 100 million kina in budget. We've already released 50 million kina to the provincial treasury. The reason why it's gone to the provincial treasury is for a single point of accountability. When the disbursement take place and provincial governments are sub-national government delivery mechanisms are in place, just like DDAs are. And Governor has made it clear that there will be percentage of distribution for districts to also partner in the infrastructure developments, whilst landowners also, at the last meeting we had at Ley National Hotel, the landowners also petitioned. Governor did indicate that the distribution also to the landowners. Now this one is not business development grant. Business development grant has an element of freedom. It is meant to incubate businesses to prepare to participate in the mine, whether during construction phase or operation phase. IDG is not really a free cash handout. IDG is meant to make sure the school in the project area is okay, the access road is okay, the power connectivity is okay. People there are seeing development early, so that once we mobilize them to in the community benefit sharing agreement process.
So the PMU point about member governor, regional governor.
Thank you, Mr. Acting Speaker. My apologies to the Prime Minister, but I just wanted to bring him back to the question that was asked by the good member. The good member was asking if there was a framework that could be followed in achieving all of the outcomes that he is speaking about today. So I just wanted to remind the Prime Minister to come back and answer that question. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Thank you for this pointer, Mr. Assistant Speaker. The question is an important question. The resource owners are important. I just thought there's a lot of misconception and not so much clarity around this area. So I will report to this Parliament exactly how much we've disbursed in terms of labeled as infrastructure development grant. From memory, it's possibly 200 million kina starting 2022. And some would have gone to province, some would have gone to the districts. We'll be transparent about this one, how much went through the districts, how much went to the province. The list this Parliament and our government expects is 200 million kina, whatever it is that was transferred. Work happening on the ground, commensurating the money that has been disbursed. And I take the members' recommendation on the framework and whether districts could be used as a point of disbursement. I want to encourage all leaders from the province, including Governor, when we conclude the MDC process and SML issued, we will come to convene a development forum or community benefit sharing agreement forum. In that meeting, you are entitled to be in one voice pointing that we want this disbursement point to be to be used for IDG disbursements, whether through landowners or through the districts or through province. It's entirely subjected to the process of development forum. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Supplementary.
Mr. Speaker, my supplementary question is, one, we appreciate the funding that some of our districts are getting in terms of IDG, BDG, and simpler commitments where government making to provinces and districts. My supplementary question in relation to IDG is, Prime Minister has made the distinction between BDG and IDG. My supplement is, Prime Minister, you may give him plenty money or province through IDG, specifically on the IDG part. It won't be hard to identify because I'm IDG. Infrastructure must send up the money you may give him. So as opposed to BDG. And plenty time, national government give him money, but time province, the district, make him work, national government gives him name no good. Can the Prime Minister outsource? Because sometimes you may make him, you may collaborate. So can the Prime Minister outsource the function of getting an independent engineering company? Look, come to check him out the IDG. Will come up or no good? Infrastructure set up or no good? Suppose you know set up, independent team can talk. Work he come up or you know come up. So you can frame Ogata, we blow leaders on ground, former ministers, current ministers, Prime Minister, Cabinet, the government. Thank you.
Honourable Prime Minister.
All right, Mr. Assistant Speaker, good suggestion in come long member of long Finsafen, IDG, me work long money come long get up in infrastructure. One kind of say money go long DDAs long get up in infrastructure now. Province kind of same so IDG for infrastructure more so long project area districts, project area province. So suggestion lo you find more independent line of managing display, no good suggestion. It's something worth considering. So that we, as Parliament, approve budgets, we expect outcome to be happening on the ground. So it's a worthy consideration being proposed, and I will certainly get the team at National Planning to look into this. Thank you, Mr. Assistant Speaker.
Honourable members, 4+10, 5 minutes from the Prime finish now. Leader block government business. Honourable members, question time, 4+10, 5 minutes, I'm finished. Leader of government business.
Mr. Deputy Speaker, I ask Leader of Parliament to move a motion without notice.
Is that granted?
Aye.
I serve it. Leader of government business.
Mr. Deputy Speaker, I move that so much of the standing orders be suspended as would prevent notice numbers 109, 98, 110, and 103, government business, being called on forthwith.
Question is that the motion be agreed to. Those in favour say aye. Aye. Those who are against say no. I serve it. Clerk.
Notice number 109, 109, Minister for Justice and Attorney General.
Minister for Justice.
Mr. Assistant Speaker, thank you. I present the Income Tax Amendment Bill 2024.
Leave granted. Sir, Clerk.
First reading, a bill for an act to amend the Income Tax Act 1959 to provide for tax exemptions of judges, pensions, and for related purposes.
Minister for Justice.
Mr. Assistant Speaker, I ask leave to move the second reading forthwith.
Is leave granted? Minister.
Mr. Speaker, our Assistant Speaker, I moved that the bill be now read the second time.
Make your speech.
Thank you, Mr. Assistant Speaker. Mr. Assistant Speaker, honourable members of this Parliament, and the people of Papua New Guinea, I present to this Honourable House the proposed amendments to the Income Tax Act 1959, which aims to exempt taxation from the pensions of judges. Unlike other professions, in terms of service, judges are required to perform their role with impartiality and determine disputes amongst people or interpret laws that have significant impact on the people, including the operation of the government. Hence, judges are limited from associating with the public and other persons to avoid a conflict of interest. In addition, during their term of office in Parliament, judges are restricted from engaging in employment with other private or public entities until they retire at the age of 72. With no other sources or means of income to sustain the livelihood of judges immediately after retirement, it is prudent that a judge's pension must be exempted from the income tax. Given the factors associated with the work of a judge, the proposed amendments to the Income Tax Act 1959 aims to exempt taxation from judges' pension. This proposed amendment contributes toward achieving Vision 2050 to ensure that PNG achieves a smart, wise, and a fair society. Mr. Assistant Speaker, with that, I hereby commend the proposed amendments to the Income Tax Act 1959 to this Honourable House, and in accordance with the standing orders, the debates may be open. Thank you.
Honourable Governor Fulay. Governor for Morabe, sorry.
Yes, sir, you talk straight. Bloody Governor, Speaker, I'll send him, you ask him you. Assistant Speaker, I thank you. I sincerely thank you to give me the leave to debate, to support the Honourable Minister, Attorney General of Papua New Guinea on this very important bill before this Parliament. I commend the Minister. He has brought so many important bills in relation to judiciary in this Parliament. One which is very conspicuous is the separation of powers, separation of the appeal court and the other Supreme Court matters, jurisdiction, sorry. So, Minister, you're doing a good job. Let me commend you for doing that. But the bill that you brought, as I said from the outset, very important, very good bill. As a former judge, I know, Mr. Speaker, we're dealing with contentious matter every day. We're dealing with contentious matter. It's like a fight that is brought before you. And you're there, sitting there to give peace, make a decision. Surely you're going to make one party happy, and surely you're going to make one party upset. But put that aside, the important thing is you make a decision in accordance with the law, in accordance with the facts, with the law. And that matter, that responsibility is a very serious responsibility, very big responsibility, sitting there. And you will confine yourself to yourself or to your family. For the obvious reason is that when you expose yourself to the public, surely the litigants are bound to face you. And they will ask you about their case. They don't care. It's outside of the precincts of the court or chamber of the court. But when they take the opportunity, they will ask you about their case outside. And this can also make upset the other party if the other party finds out that you had been faced with the other party. So it's for those reasons that the judges are not actually by the law, but for those reasons they will naturally confine themselves to themselves and to the family. And they spend much time on hearing those cases, contentious matter, and they spend much time on the research of the law and spend much time to reach a decision, a fair decision in accordance with the law to the litigants. And we must give them that opportunity to confine themselves to themselves, to deal with the matter and to give the decision based on the law. And Mr. Speaker, I support the bill. That we should give pension. They're not involved in any businesses, commercial business, for the obvious reason that whatever business that might be, Mr. Speaker, it will involve people, it will involve contacts, it will involve conversation, those things. And when that happens, you are making yourself accessible to the public, and that is why, and your decision might be interfered, Mr. Speaker. And you might not give a good decision, but you might give a half-cooked decision, which is not good for the interest of justice. So, Mr. Speaker, I support the Honourable Minister for that the introduction of this particular bill to exempt them, and I think we should exempt them. Many of the judges who are appointed, Mr. Speaker, into Parliament, into the court, are older people. They're not younger people, they're older people. So when spending time in the whatever jurisdiction that might be, in dealing with cases, they get pretty old, and then when they eventually retire, if they're still alive, when they eventually retire, they're pretty old. They will surely confine themselves and to the family. And we must look after them. We must acknowledge the fact, Mr. Speaker, that they have contributed. They have immensely contributed to dealing with contentious matter and giving decision under pressure most of the time. And so we should acknowledge that, Mr. Speaker, and allow them to retire peacefully to their confinement, and not just retire, but give them entitlement. It's entitlement they deserve for the role that they play. Mr. Speaker, I want to commend the Minister not only that he's endeavoring to increase the number of judges in this country from the people who are people from this country, but the minister is seeking to recruit judges from overseas which have similar jurisdiction, like Australia, New Zealand, England, and some part of the countries in the African nations, particularly Commonwealth nations, to come and work in Papua New Guinea. And as I said before, Mr. Speaker, we need the development of national jurisprudence. That is the constitutional obligation, envisaged in the Constitution, to be given to the judges of this country, be it the National Court judges or the Supreme Court judges or the Appeal Court judges that we have established by the law, or the tribunals we have established by relevant law. And we need development of national jurisprudence. And we need those people who've got a good background in practice of law in their jurisdiction, Mr. Acting Speaker. Their practice of high standard, very high standard, and they bring with them that experience to our country, Mr. Acting Speaker. And we keep them here, we employ them, and we give them job. Not to say, Mr. Acting Speaker, that we should not concentrate, we should diminish the recruitment employment of our national judges. No, this is an independent nation, Mr. Acting Speaker. This is an independent nation. We should be proud of our independence. We should be proud of our country. We should be proud of our people from this country. We should do everything under the sun to make sure that we give opportunity to our countrymen and women to, and the best lawyers on the land who have practiced, advocates of the court, not appointing commercial lawyer who is not practicing in the court. Appoint the people who have been attending and representing litigants in the court, have them as an advocate of the various courts that we have in this country, or of high quality, to be appointed to the bench, so that we have the national jurisprudence which is developed of high quality, which we can use it in this generation, in the coming generation, and in the unknown generation. And that's the role of the court of this country. And Mr. Acting Speaker, I want to thank the Minister for his initiative to recruit judges from the overseas country who have the similar jurisdiction as ours. And of course, when they retire, we should give them what is accorded to them for the job they're going to do in developing the national jurisprudence of this country. They contribute to our country in that field. And we should look after them. And, Mr. Speaker, we should exempt them from the income tax, which the bill intends to achieve now. Exempt them so that they get a full pay. Having said that, Mr. Acting Speaker, I want to say for other members of Parliament, all right, judges we're going to do, we should support, but we should do the same, Mr. Acting Speaker, for the members of Parliament. We are here as a member of Parliament now, but who gets you there, Mr. Acting Speaker, will make a decision. The source of the political mandate in this Parliament will make a decision one day. And, Mr. Acting Speaker, when they make a decision, then we have not mandate to be in this Parliament. But, Mr. Acting Speaker, when we are in Parliament, there's so many criticism, and there's so many condemnation, and there's so many statements, unfounded statements, made on the honourable members. Today, we are honourable members. We title ourselves as honourable members. But when you retire, Mr. Acting Speaker, they're not going to call you honourable member. They said, you can get limplex from government around there, what do you? And they're going to say those things to us. And we are somebody today, Mr. Acting Speaker, but at that time we will be nobody. We will be nobody, according to the people. And we've done so many things. Whilst we are here, we're going to do so many things to the people. We sacrifice, Mr. Acting Speaker, we sacrifice. Like me, by 3 o'clock in the morning, the people are already underneath my house. whilst I'm still asleep up there, the people are underneath my house at 3 o'clock in the morning, Mr. Speaker. All right? By the time I come to go to the toilet, I find them there. I said, how come? How come you are here? It's 3 o'clock. What is your time? And they said, yeah, Governor, and they will say those things. All right? And then you help them. You help them, Mr. Acting Speaker. But the same person we go and said he's a con man. Remember him, con man, you know, helping me. They're going to rubbish you. They're surely going to rubbish you. Some of you, the first member here, you have not experienced life of not being a member and then not being a member. You have not experienced yet. You have not. When you experience that, Mr. Acting Speaker, you buy Waribak Simia. Me talking straight. Waribak Simia. Once upon a time, Mr. Gloria. So now Mr. Blong, ground a keke dust there. You buy film there. You buy film not good. That's all. What big bridge you build him go, yeah? The bridge that you build, the roads that you build, the groups of people that you donate money to help them, and the schools that you help them to pay the school fees for the kids. All those things will be forgotten, Mr. Acting Speaker. They will be forgotten. All forgotten. One person came to my house and said, you are the Bible, the king of Israel. Nebuchadnezzar said. He said, I'm a Nebuchadnezzar.
Honorable Governor, you have a point of order here.
Oh.
Member for Yale Bupange, what is your
Thank you. Can you tell the good governor, please stick to the point? You know, you're moving into territories that are not relevant to the minister's bill. You know, I know you're trying to please the minister, but please stick to the point and let's get on with this debate.
Honorable member for Yale Bupange, your point of order is in order. Governor, you can go straight to your point.
Yeah, the point. He's a good man. He will
sorry,
not...
Governor, I'm interrupting you. Just address us here. As Assistant Speaker.
Yeah, Assistant Speaker.
Thank you.
Sorry, Assistant. I didn't know your title. Sorry, with respect. I didn't know your title. Okay, Assistant Speaker. All right. I appreciate what the member for Yale Bupange is saying, but he got money. He would not worry about what I'm saying. He shouldn't be. But I'm talking about other people like myself. We're village people. And when we return, we're going to continue to be a village people, Mr. Speaker. So in as much as we try to exempt, that's the point, my honourable member for Yalibu, in as much as we try to exempt the salary of the retired judges, we must think of ourselves, Mr. Speaker. Our salary, our retirement pension should not be taxed. That's what we're trying to give to the attempt to do now for the retired judges. Should not be, because we get more criticism than the judges. We get more criticisms. Even you finish, you get more criticisms. So, Mr. Acting Speaker, the Prime Minister, thank you, Deputy Prime Minister and the Minister for Finance, you are listening. The retirement, the amount of money for retirement should be further increased. Further increased, because when we finish from the member, you will realize that you will still continue to be leader among your people. Even your title is taken away by virtue of the Constitution, you will still continue to be a leader. And that is why I'm saying the pension of the members should be increased and we should also be exempted from the tax, income tax. We should be exempted. I ask that the Prime Minister and the Minister of Finance take note of this point, and I think all of us we should have due respect to the members of the judges of this country, and what we're trying to do is the right thing that we're trying to do for them. And I think we should support this bill. Thank you, Mr. Assistant Speaker.
The question is question before. The question is that question before. Those in favor say aye. Aye. Those in against say no. Ayes have it. The question is that the bill be now read the third time, second time. Those in favor say aye. Aye. Those in against say no. Ayes have it. Clerk.
Second reading, a bill to amend the Income Tax Act 1959 to provide for tax exemptions of judges, pensions, and for related purposes.
Minister.
Assistant Speaker, I ask leave of the Parliament to move the third reading forthwith.
Is leave granted? Minister.
Mr. Assistant Speaker, I move that the bill be now read a third time.
The member for Yalebu Pankia.
Thank you. Thank you, Assistant Speaker, for giving me this time law debate law this particular bill. Mr. Speaker, there is no doubt that the judges do a very difficult job, and I commend the Minister for taking a special interest in protecting the welfare of our judges in the country. Mr. Speaker, whilst I appreciate the work of the judges, and of course, our good governor for Morobe has opened up a similar sentiment that I am trying to express. That is that judges are still members of our community. They are employed by the state like everyone else, who are employed by the state like doctors, teachers, nurses. And those people also do a lot of hard work, and they carry a lot of burden of our society. Mr. Speaker, as members of the community, we are obligated to also pay our way into this country's well-being. That includes paying taxes. Now, my concern is that if we start exempting certain individuals and certain sectors of our community from their responsibility as citizens of the country, to as workers paying their fair share of the taxes, if we start giving exemptions, where do we stop? If we have to give the judges more benefits, I see no reason why the minister and the government should not increase the packages of the judges. But even to select just a specific group of employees of the state to give him specific exemptions, it's a great concern. Mr. Speaker, plenty old doctor, nurses, plenty old teacher, countries are asking government blow you me, lo review this tax blow also by each fortnight because of the cost of living pressures that they are going through. It is not fair to everybody else when we are just trying to look up a select group of people, Mr. Speaker. So government should reconsider this bill carefully. Now, this is a money bill, Mr. Speaker. This is a money bill. The responsibility of management of the Income Tax Act, superannuations and pensions fund is the responsibility of Treasury. Now, when you're presenting a money bill, you need to have a message from the Governor General. So I think the minister is putting in a bill that is beyond his delegated responsibility. He should be bringing this as part of the budget. The budget is only a few days away, or a day or so away. And this should be included in that. Now, tomorrow, as the governor said for Morobe, that now we members of parliament exempt ourselves from paying this tax. How would the community feel? How would all the other hard-working Papua New Guineans who are struggling to survive every day feel about this kind of selective exemptions that we are giving out? So, Mr. Speaker, me no talk of saying judges don't deserve an increase in pay. Now, I don't believe that, this particular exemption will make everybody smart and wiser and fair, as the minister is saying. I think the burden will be more to other people who are not able to get these exemptions than those who are getting it, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, also I'm Governor Morobe, I'm judge before. Now, this idea that these judges cannot find employment elsewhere is a poor argument, Mr. Speaker. Moreover, governor has found himself a new job as a member of parliament. He's sitting here and of course, wasting all of our time sometimes. Yeah.
Honorable member, you have a point of order. Governor,
with respect, my brother,
what is your point of order?
What I'm saying, what I said, the point is, the member didn't understand, said most of the judges are old folks. By the time they finish from the judge, they will upon man, I not making one block walk. By staff, so mitoklan. Minotoklo yamplaman or some me, minotoklo me. So, point below me, binigolo this point. Thank you, member.
Point blow, governor, me understand. But governor, and yet Sawelsem, all Yampla judge too, in the regime 72, they are retiring. When they retire, they have access to the pension, like he is probably having access to the pension. I have no knowledge about that, but that doesn't mean that they can't work in any other field. Many retired judges across the world in the same jurisdiction as we have get jobs in the law firms and they become King's Counsel, some of them. Queen's Counsel, some of them. So, you know, there are people who are out there working while this so-called retirement takes place. So, me just also talks, that's all. You may look good, now you may approve him this law. If you want to look after the judges, increase in wages, pay more. That's no problem with us. But just to give an exemption on this tax to one group of employees is a huge burden to the rest of us, especially the teachers, doctors, and nurses who are working so hard around the country. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The honourable member for personal, Central and Minister.
Oh. Thank you, Acting Assistant Speaker. Mr. Assistant Speaker, I rise to commend the Minister for Justice and Attorney General and support the amendments that are being proposed in this Parliament. Although I do admit that it may be a responsibility of another minister, but in relation to what we are seeking to achieve, it is a intention that has to be supported, I say, by all of us in this Parliament. More so because of the fact that we are a country of so many different tribes and languages and many ethnic groups, and more so especially given the fact that the rule of law is the only one method that we have now that will continue to hold our country together. The rule of law must be respected and must be nurtured and must be supported. And we in this government and also in the past governments have always been supportive of the other arm of government being the judiciary. And if we go by the efforts that this government led by our Prime Minister have made, you will see that we've, in our wisdom, decided to support the call of the judiciary, Mr. Assistant Speaker, to establish a new system of court where we then make it easy for the judges to administer justice in this case. We've also managed to allocate more than enough funding for our judiciary. We've now, at the stage where we're trying to amend a law such that we can then obviously allow the judges to enjoy their pensions, not their normal termination pay or packages, salaries and wages, but their pensions, which they can enjoy in their retirement. But Mr. Assistant Speaker, as we all know, when one occupies a position of responsibility and when one is afforded the thing that he or she needs by another arm of government, that also places a serious onus on one who's benefiting. In the case of judges, I say that they are very well paid. And even when they're out of their courthouses, when members of the public find out that someone who's among them is a judge, instantly they change their attitude and they respect them. This is the kind of respect that we give our judges in this country, which in many countries people take for granted. And our judges in this country, in a country like ours, enjoy special privileged positions. But Mr. Acting Assistant Speaker, in my experience, our judges also have a responsibility to perform and to deliver to the expectations of our people. And in most cases, some of our judges, dare I say, are lazy. And the judgment that they are delivering are unbelievable. Some of even the grammar and the language that they use in those judgments, I find it difficult to understand. So the onus is on the judicial system to deliver. We are doing our bit by making sure that they benefit from the system that we have in this country. And one of them is the pension that we're now trying to exempt from income tax. So I have, Mr. Speaker, I have in many cases, even where I come from, been informed by the people I represent that some of the judges who have been seconded to our province, the province that I come from, have been sitting on judgment for more than 4 years. And in one case, one of the judges unfortunately passed away without delivering those judgments. What do we tell the ordinary people who come to court? That is the question those judges should be asking themselves. While we in this house, our people's representatives, support them, they have an onus to deliver. And while I commend our minister, I must emphasize that the judges also have to deliver for our people, our community. In some cases, they have been found wanting. And it is incumbent upon all of us to make it known to the judiciary that we expect them to deliver as well and do their part of their bargain. Thank you, Mr.
The regional member for Northern.
I will be very brief. I too support this bill, but I want to just make a few comments in relation to the bill, and specifically about, if we are talking about judges and the fact that they are unable to do business or engage in business activities, and therefore this is the argument for giving them an exemption on their retirement benefits, pension, etc., then we have to also consider public servants. You know, public servants are also duty-bound by law not to engage in business activities as well. You know, this includes the disciplinary forces. So perhaps we should consider maybe not exempting them, but reducing the taxes that they pay. Our income tax is the highest in the region, and it's very prohibitive for retaining good people in the public sector. You know, a lot of our professionals working in the public sector are drifting onto private sector work, and even now overseas. Because it's not, you know, you don't get the benefits that you would get if you were working overseas or in the private sector, working in the public sector. So whilst I agree with the bill in general, I also take note of what the member for Yali Bupangia said, and said, you know, we have to be very cautious when we're walking down this path of exempting taxes for, you know, a specific part of the community, because then we might have to start considering others. If we have to consider others using the same arguments, then I would propose that we must consider exempting taxes on retirement benefits for public servants and disciplinary forces staff as well. That's just my basic argument in regards to this bill. Otherwise, I support it in its argument. I want to commend the Minister for Justice. He's been doing a wonderful job bringing about reforms. And perhaps may I add, in regards to what the Minister for KCH has stated, we really need to look at how the judges are managing their workload. I say this from my own experience because in 2012, my election petition case, to this day, that the written judgment has not been handed down by the judge, who is no longer a judge. Just a comment here that I thought I may make. Thank you very much.
The question is that the question be put. Those in favor say aye. Aye. Those in against say no. The ayes have it. Question is that the bill be now read the third time. So those in favor say aye. Aye. Those in against say no. Ayes have it. Clerk.
Third reading. A bill for an act to amend the Income Tax Act 1959 to provide for tax exemption of judges' pensions and for related purposes.
Minister. Honorable members, I suspend the parliament for lunch and we resume at 2 p.m.